So, as you could tell, I just got through running across the cornfields with my dogs to come over here on a Saturday and say hi to everybody. So I'll get better at this. We'll get higher quality in the editing room because I do all my own production too. Anyway, again, love you guys. Go say hi to somebody. Just wave at somebody. Start there. Just wave at some people. Younger people, older people. I did that backwards, didn't I? Younger people, older people. Just go out and say hi. Let's start. There was a hashtag that Barbie wants to get started. I'll have to look that up. I'll have to look through some of the old films. We need to be pulling together and discussing these items, and not be afraid to have a dinner. What do they call it? Table dinner, or around the dinner table. Politics is a device to keep this country moving forward. I know that all the people in the middle class want this country to keep moving forward. I also know that the politicians we have currently in place on both sides of the aisle, some way more than others, but we have a situation now where the politicians don't want us to necessarily move forward. They want, in our education and our information to be lower and lower so that they can control more. They have very perfect lives, really. And these are the things we don't understand. You know, we need to really be able to have the courage and have the patience to be looking at our politicians more directly, with more information. As I've said before, we have a utopia coming, and if we don't have control over our politicians, as that utopia comes, then we won't have that utopia. We will be moved into whatever needs that the country has, without the rewards. This middle class of America has been stronger and done more than my own. I know I'm biased, but than any other. As a matter of fact, all the middle classes, around the world, is what the economy is built on, and we have no say at how that money is spent. Don't you just love that tune at the end? It's just like, love that stuff. Hey, we got a great show today, folks. We're bringing together brothers from another mother, let's say, right, Cliff? We're bringing together Canada and America, so we may actually fold into some other conversations than I thought we were originally going to chat about. Really looking forward today, now even more than earlier, because as Cliff said, he's a talker. I'm a talker. This is not going to be a hard discussion to have today. So as I always say, welcome to Insights and Straight Talk with Rodd Duff. I'm your host, and with the ever-present producer Barbie. Today we're stepping in directly into a question that every business leader, every entrepreneur, every marketer, every creative professional wrestles with. How to turn a complex idea into a simple discussion that moves people. A story centered around what you're talking about, but isn't just listened to, actually affects them. Because in a world overflowing with content, with brands and voices, most messages don't fail because they're wrong. They fail because they're unclear. And I've experienced, we were talking about this when I was backstage in the green room with Cliff, and I see you. Keep your hand off those peanuts, Cliff. Okay, all right. But when we were talking about this. There's people that, the difference between creating a sales organization or relationship versus just an order taker is that person that can connect. So Cliff Skelliter. Sorry, I was hanging on your name there. I did promise to say it once. Cliff Skelliter has built his entire career around solving that issue. He helps organizations translate the complicated into the meaningful, the technical into the relatable, and the strategic into the emotional. And when you can do that, you don't just attract attention, you build trust, you inspire action, and you create culture. Today, we're unpacking how that works, what that looks like, why it matters, and what leaders can learn from somebody who lives at the intersection of creativity, storytelling, and world business. Hey, how you doing, brother? Come on in. What I want to do is I want to go over a few talking points with you right now that Cliff and I are going to get into. Just grab a seat anywhere. One of those soft chairs would be good. We just had a visitor pop in, good friend, and he's going to listen to the show live. Say hi over there. He says, "What's up?" So I want to do a couple talking points here just to kind of get people knowing where we're going to go. We may lean into some politics here, which is interesting, and some other aspects. But storytelling is not marketing. It's actually it's meaning. That's kind of a key difference, a takeaway. Most businesses think they need better ads. What they actually need is a clearer story about who they are, why they exist, and what problems that they solve. Creativity is the leadership skill most companies ignore. Teams don't fall apart because of talent shortages. They fall apart because no one knows how to turn ideas into narratives people can rally around. And that's really where it's all coming in. Complex ideas die in complicated words. Cliff's specialty is distilling complicated systems, technology, operations, culture, and strategy into narratives that real people can understand instantly. The best stories don't sell products, they build trust. A message that feels honest, grounded, and human travels further than a flashy pitch ever did. People follow clarity before they follow charisma. I've got neither, so I'm just learning some good advice here from Cliff today. Creativity must have purpose. Cliff's work across corporate community, and yes, including indigenous organizations, is rooted in one principle. Creative work must move people towards something bigger than transaction. Why most branding feels empty. Businesses often imitate. I am having trouble with words today. You know what, Cliff? You're going to talk most of the day today. It's just not flowing, man. Let me go over that again. We have 133 people on already, by the way. And sorry about that, folks. We'll have a more professional person on in a minute. Businesses often imitate the language of their competitors instead of telling the truth about their own identity. Audiences feel disconnected the minute that happens. So we're going to learn how to use narrative to solve internal problems. A company with a fractured culture is often a company with a fractured story, right? When people don't know the story that they belong to, they don't know how to behave inside of it. Innovation is storytelling in action. Every new product, every new service, every new process has to be explained. Creativity becomes the engine that helps people understand what's changing and why it matters. Leaders who communicate well, those are leaders that win. The leaders who rise are the ones who can take the complex and make it simple, take the intimidating and make it accessible, take the strategic and make it personal. What this means for America's great middle class and Canada's, of course, is this. small businesses, creators, teachers, entrepreneurs, designers, they're all trying to stand out in a noisy, distracted world. Storytelling is their most reliable competitive advantage. So today we're bringing forward a voice who understands how creativity and storytelling shape everything from brand identity to company culture to the way leaders communicate with their teams and their communities. Cliff Cliff has helped organizations large and small translate complexity into clarity, build trust through honest narrative, and turn ideas into stories that people actually care about. If you're building a business, you're shaping a brand, leading a team, or trying to understand how creativity drives real world outcomes, this conversation is going to give you tools you can use tomorrow. Cliff, welcome to Insights and Straight Talk, my brother from another mother.
Brother, this was magical. I think that you gave yourself too hard of a time. I think that you executed flawlessly, even with the flaws, perceived flaws, because real talk, there's nothing like more boring than when somebody gives you a bit of a presentation, a speech, whatever, and it's just like so like almost mechanical that you're just like, you don't feel any sense of anticipation, right? You feel like this is
Good
real.
word.
This person,
Good word.
This person could fuck up at any moment. First F-bomb of the show. I wanted to hit it right away just so we know what we're dealing with.
Nail it out there, brother. Nail it.
I thought that was, I honestly don't even know why I'm here right now. Because you hit everything so well that it's like, you know, I'm like, I'll come back. All right, I'll come back. Thanks, brother.
Rodd. I warned you, folks. This is going to be an interesting show. It's going to be not only a lot of fun. It's probably going to have some twists and turns. It's going to have Cliff sliding off the stage. It's going to have all these wonderful things. So Cliff, how did you kind of? We talk about this, the journey before the journey that brought you here, right? You're on this amazing journey, and I think we're going to go off of it a little bit because some of the things we were talking about in the back really caught my interest. You know, curiosity, right? Mm-hmm. But what is the journey? How did you go this direction? You've lived in Canada, born and raised, right? Your whole life.
On the playground is where I spent most of my days, chilling out. Max.
Where's the accent?
Sorry.
Where's the accent?
Well, listen, let's leave that up to the commenters. You told me there will be commenters, there'll be audience here. Let's hear them pick out my Canadian isms, because that's always super fun. And I know what the ones are that get called out if I put up a video here or there or whatever, and I check the comments, and I then hear, once they point them out, that's all I could hear. And
I think I've got a head start. Commenter. Okay. That one right there was all.
Which
that was all Canada. Commenter.
The
commenters.
Yeah, the commenters.
The commenters.
Yeah,
when you said that, I said, "Oh, there it is. I heard it."
Yeah.
I love accents.
Oh, it's you and me both. I'm intrigued. I can't do them well either. I do like one accent, and it's like an amalgamation of like Irish, Jamaican, you name it, it's in there somehow, some way.
I hear you. We have our first guest actually asking a question. We'll wait on that. We'll wait, okay. Adam. We have 171 people on right now.
Yay.
Tell us your story. Let's dive. Let's get into the meat here.
Yeah, it's like, where do you even start, right? So born up north in Canada, a few hours north of Toronto. I think that's probably one of the more recognizable cities in America. And geez, you want to know how I got on this path? I think I was always a storyteller. Like, I always liked to entertain. I remember when Eddie Murphy, Delirious, was it Delirious, the first one? I think Delirious was the first one, came out.
It was the first one.
And my mom played that for me. I'm probably way too young to see it, but it just, Gary, way too young, but it blew my mind. I remember memorizing that and performing it for my family. Wow. Just something in my brain at that moment was like, everything that's happening here, I love. I loved his swagger. I loved his just being able to make everybody laugh through storytelling and these ridiculous stories about his family and, Gus's wife being a Sasquatch and Goonie Goo Goo and, I got some ice cream. I got some. And so I was just doing
Oh my God, that's funny.
Memories, right? Then you drop it in a little doo-doo and you're like, just some sprinkles. I remember that. And that was like right away where I really wanted to entertain. I'd do anything. I'd be dancing, I'd be telling jokes. And so, I guess classic class clown, not awesome academically, but, good, personable, and, just loved having fun with my classmates. And I think that where I'm from, this city, when I grew up, it was pretty like Caucasian. We had an indigenous, some indigenous people, some people from like different like cultures, but it was primarily Caucasian. So I always felt like I stood out. My father was from Trinidad, so there's some Caribbean heritage there. My mother, indigenous, and then we've also, I think we've got some Irish or Scottish in us. I can't remember. And so I think like I always felt like I was a little different. I didn't quite fit in. I think a lot of kids experience that. A lot of people experience that.
Absolutely.
I'm tall, I'm short, I'm big, I wear glasses. Everybody has their thing about them that's different. And so I just think I compensated by just entertaining. And so I think I just carried that with me. I had no idea what I wanted to do. I didn't launch right away. I got out of high school. I did go to college for advertising. I went through this weird era of anxiety. I've dealt with pretty like aggressive anxiety in my life. I've had bouts that have completely shut me down. And so I started dealing with that at around like whatever that age is, 18-ish. And then,
right.
Going to college for advertising, there's a lot of presentations. And I started drinking coffee too. I haven't had coffee in so long because in college, I was having coffee and like there was two things. Number one, it was skyrocketing my anxiety. And it was also like almost skyrocketing me physically because of the potential doo-doo implications. You understand what I'm saying, right?
100%. 100%.
That's dangerous to be locked and loaded like that. And so I was like, I got to get off the coffee. I dropped out. I went back for graphic design. I dropped out. I went back for civil engineering. That lasted a couple of weeks. I dropped out. I went back for I dropped out. They said, listen, Cliff, we're going to give you a general arts diploma. Get the heck out of here. They give me a general arts diploma. I go to university. I major in communications. I start taking film classes. And I'll give a shout out actually to a teacher, Dr. Hoi Chu. This professor, he was from China. He is probably, I don't know, 120 pounds, 5'3", 5'2". And I walked into this man's classroom, right? Small guy, very small guy. And he gets up in front of the class and starts talking. And I mean, this man's presence filled the room. He was now 10 feet tall, 1,000 pounds or whatever. And I was like, wow, how is this fella, like, what is this guy doing? Like, it was something to do with his storytelling. And I mean, right out the gates, he walked up and he looked at the classroom and he essentially said, I'm going to teach you guys how to predict the future. And that got me right away. I was like, okay, hooked. Tell me how, right?
Yeah.
And he goes, see that pencil in front of you? He goes, pick it up. We all pick up our pencils. He goes, I'm going to tell you to let go of the pencil in a second. But first, I'm going to ask you to tell me what's going to happen. And we're all like, yeah, it's going to fall on our desk, fall on the ground, whatever. And he goes, well, how do you know that? That hasn't happened yet. And we're like, okay, I see what you're doing here. He's like, you're predicting the future. And we're like, okay, cool. And he's like, if you have, he goes, why do you know that's going to happen? Well, because I don't know, anytime we've let go of something before, it's fallen, you know, we understand that there's this there's gravity or whatever, but we've experienced it. And he goes, yeah, so if you've experienced or you know something or you're aware of something, it gives you an idea of what will happen next. Correct? We're like, correct. So the more you understand the world, the more experience you have, the more you learn, you get better at understanding what's going to happen next. And I don't know, man, that was my moment of like, I love this. I love this idea. May sound simple to a lot of people, but it hit.
No. I mean, think about what a powerful message that is and the way it was presented. I mean, it's still stuck with you still to this moment. It's a pivoting, Dr. Obvious here, right? It's a pivotal, it was a pivotal moment in your life, obviously. You just brought it up. You still remember it. But in listening to it, that is a powerful discussion to put into somebody's mind at that point in time, because they're growing into something new, right? They're growing into whatever it is.
Wait. Say, Andre, say hi. Look, he tried to sneak by.
Hey, hold on a second. I recognize that dude. You guys do a couple of your videos you're on and you're screaming at him from the other side of the room and hopping over. You're funny, dude. What's your name?
Andre's a funny guy. He can't hear you because I got the headphones on. He says, you're a funny guy. What's your name? That's Andre. He owns a software company called the Kore Project, but he's just super entertaining, man. This guy, he's an outdoorsman. Can you tell? And and speak.
But wait,
see you, brother. Peace.
But wait, he's an entertaining software dude. Those two things don't usually go together.
Well, he's not even he wasn't even a software dude. He, you know, outdoor guy, entrepreneur, built a business, great storyteller as well, built an agency, a workforce agency, you know, did well, sold that, and saw a problem in the market and created a workforce software called the Kore Project. And so, yeah, that's, I mean, again, it's me and him have such a great time together because we both love storytelling. He's got funny stories. He's got wild stories too. Like this is a guy who just trekked through the Arctic. Not the Arctic. What am I talking about? Was it the Arctic? Oh, God, now I can't even remember. I'll let him tell.
Antarctica, that kind of.
I don't know. He was somewhere. And
he's a big ass dude. I'll tell you that.
Big. Yeah, he is.
And you guys, you can tell if you guys ever, what's your website? Your Instagram.
My Instagram is Cliff Notes. So like on the screen, like you see there, I got it captured, no underscores, no dots, no nothing like that. It's like just straight up.
Cliff Notes.
Yeah.
Okay. Go on to his Instagram because it's really actually very entertaining. It's informative. You got some really good stuff on there. Yeah. But when you two are together on some of your, I don't know if I want to call them skits. Oh my God, you guys are hilarious.
Yeah, we're silly guys. We just try to have
and you get a lot of views. You get a lot of entertainment from that.
Dude, we have another company that's on hiatus right now because we're focused on other things. So we created a company, an outdoor company called Big Bush Company. We had people vote on the name. We thought it was so funny, Big Bush. And we end up putting a billboard up in a town next to ours. Okay, there's a city next to ours. And on the billboard, with the slogan is on the billboard, high traffic area. And it says Big Bush Company. Going deep in the bush never felt so good.
Oh my God. Are you kidding me? Hold on a second. Hold on. This doesn't usually happen. Producer Barbie's even calling in to say hi to you.
Wow. I'm excited to meet Barbie.
Say hi, Producer Barbie.
Hello. How are you?
I'm well, Barbie. How are you?
He can't. You can't hear him right now because I've got you on speaker. I do have a guest in, Barbie. We have one of our guests that came in and are watching the show live, so that's good. But he. All right, I'll call you back after the show. All right, babe. All right, bye. She says hello and all that good stuff, but I couldn't resist bringing her on. Today's kind of a big day. You're bringing in some good energy there, brother. We got guests coming in and watching live. We We have 382 people on right now.
That's nice. That's good, I think, nice. Right? I'm excited.
Absolutely. It's very good. I do want to give a shout out to the Mangum City Library because they sponsor us. We're about another sponsor is about ready to come on as well. But I did want to give them a shout out because they believe in our Regeneration School project. I was telling you about Emma and Grandpa Rodd earlier.
Yeah.
So they support all that, and it's really good. Before we get into some of these questions, you got through your opening, right? As far as what brought you here, and all that.
I don't even know. Honestly, you guys
honestly,
tell us.
I don't even.
I think we're already having so much
30
fun.
minutes. We're already at 30 minutes. It's like, what are we going to do? But hey, I want to know this. So one of the things, obviously the storytelling to me is personally and personal, and it's personally exciting for me. But when you brought it up again, so I didn't know. I know about Australia and Indigenous people. Canada and Indigenous, just a sideline here, and we can go on as much as you want about it. But this is a curiosity to me because you're literally, well, now you're a lot further away. But when I lived in Chicago, you were only a few hours from me.
Right across the lake. You guys were right across Lake Superior.
Yeah, and I used to go into Canada quite a bit. But I never knew that there were Indigenous people that lived there. So give me a definition of that because we will, I'm sure.
I know what your definition is. So the American definition is Native American, right?
Right.
Canadians, we use the term Indigenous here. I mean, that's a whole discussion we'll save for another day. We just use another term here. We use Indigenous people. We like the term Indigenous people of Turtle Island, which is basically Canada, America, and Mexico. The Indigenous people, a lot of different communities have used the term Turtle Island in reference to North America for hundreds, if not thousands of years, which is super fascinating because if you actually look at it from a topographical point of view, it actually looks like a turtle, which is like, how did they know that?
Really?
How did they figure that out?
You're saying 100%. If you look down at North America?
Next time you look at a map, look at it, and you're like, oh man, that kind of does look like a turtle. How would they know that? Which is fascinating. And in some communities, a big belief is that we've been riding on the back of a turtle. That's one of those Indigenous stories. If we talk about storytelling, is that we're riding on the back of a turtle. So it's a pretty cool thing. So yeah, you have the term Native American out there. So
it's the same thing.
It's the exact same thing. You got to keep in mind like that, after colonization, these borders were created. Those borders didn't used to exist. Those are not,
of course.
You know what I mean? That's for the Indigenous people. Those are almost kind of arbitrary lines, quite frankly, right? When you think about, you're a Chicago guy. So a lot of the people, so my community, so I come from Ojibwe and Potawatomi are the terms. And those people,
tribe names.
That's the name of the community. Yeah, you could say. I guess you guys do use tribes there.
We use the word tribe, but I recognize those two terms. I'm a history not buff, but I like history.
You're interested.
And I recognize those names.
Yeah, and so those communities, tribes, we could call them, roamed. And so they roamed that whole area.
Right.
In Chicago, there's a lot of Ojibwe people in Potawatomi people and Odawa in Chicago. And so a lot of our people are there. That's the communities, my lineage is from. So, yeah.
You may or may not know this, but something I learned while I was in Chicago, a couple things. One, it's called the Windy City, right? Yeah. But that's not because of the wind. It's because of the politics, the blowhards and all that. But Chicago, that's true. That's how they got the name from the carpetbaggers that used to come in, blowhard, and the Windy City. That's what
funny.
It came from. But did you know that Chicago is actually an Indigenous term?
Oh, yeah. Is it? Okay. I mean,
you know what it means?
No,
you know
what
it
does
means?
This mean?
Hold your breath.
Okay.
It means stinky onion in India.
Shut up.
So they named Chicago because apparently when you came onto the banks, Lake Michigan, specifically Chicago, Lake Michigan, they're superior, but Michigan is right there, right? Apparently it stunk all hell all over before it was Chicago, but they used to call it the stinky onion. Hey, dude, see ya.
He said, "Hey, dude, see ya." Okay.
Yeah, so it's
funny.
actually
really
an
funny.
Indian. It's actually the Indians named Chicago, and they named it Stinky Onion.
That's so funny.
I thought that was perfect.
I love it. It's magical.
I love the city of Chicago, Illinois. Not so much.
Don't eat deep dish pizza in Chicago, man. If you haven't had it in Chicago, I recommend any of the people watching the show go into Chicago and have 100%. That deep dish. It's unbelievable.
And you got to have it in Chicago. The suburbs are cool. That's all good, but you got to have it in Chicago.
Yeah.
The closer to the bean, the better. The closer to the bean, the better.
Yeah.
So let's go to Adam Wayne here. Do you mind getting a little serious here a little bit?
Let's get I actually wanted to call you out. You lied in the intro. And you know what, guys? Yeah. Let's be honest on this podcast. We're going to be honest people. And so we're not going to we're going to see some dishonesty. We're going to see some dishonesty and we're going to call it out. In that opening, he goes, I think something along the lines of, I'm fumbling my words, but we're going to bring in a professional. And I was like, this liar sets me up. I don't know when this professional is coming in. I can't wait to meet him. All right, he's gonna fix things up for us. Okay, let's do that.
That's my just as a rebuttal. Okay, come on, you're calling me out.
That's fair.
I'm gonna rebut. Okay. As a desperate move, knowing how sloppy that was, I wanted to keep people coming in, so I had to tell them another. You're calling it a dishonesty, but I had to call it out. I had to say, man, dude, make this more professional. Keep them here. Right. Would you keep them here?
Yeah, it was clay. And you were just forming it in the way that was necessary. Okay, I love this. Great rebuttal. I take it all back. Let's keep this going.
You got it, brother. All right, so what do you got for Adam? Do you want me to read them off, or do you want to read them off as I throw them up?
I feel like we can alternate. I like that you said the name, because at first I was like, now that you said Adam Wayne, it makes sense. But at first my brain wasn't communicating it. So how do you turn a complex system into a story people instantly connect with?
Yeah.
Here's the thing. It's so hard when you talk about storytelling and you talk about systems, right? And it's like there are I guess you could say guidelines. I like to call them guidelines. Certain things we could follow. Every audience is going to be a little bit different. There's this famous Mark Twain quote that I always love. And I believe he wrote, "Sorry for telling such a long story. If I had more time, I would have written a shorter one." And right. And it speaks directly to what Adam is speaking about, is like, how do you turn a complex idea? How do you scrape away? And time is a part of it. Part of it is you take your time at figuring out what is the core thing that you want to be able to express. Who are you talking to? What do they need to know? Right? So start to break down, going like, what is in there? How do we cut the fat off the meat? Right? And is it adding to the story in two ways? Information, entertainment. If it's not adding one of those two things to it, and be honest with yourself, because a lot of people misunderstand what is entertainment within a story, or they overestimate their ability to be entertaining. And I know that's the hard truth. Some of us have to have a hard conversation with ourselves.
Good point.
Not everyone's gifted when it comes to just being entertaining, right? Like, maybe you just got to get right to the information as quickly as possible. Get it to them. Figure out how to hook them in.
Wait. Hold there for a second. Let's hover for a second. One of my favorite words. That was something I didn't tell you. There'll be points in time where I may need to interrupt, because I consider myself the safety net. If I understand it, I trust you. Trust me, everybody here will.
I didn't agree to that. Did we agree to that? Yeah, we did.
Okay. It was in the fine print. It was written in italics, and it was written in German. You don't speak German.
I don't know. Deutsch, Mark.
So you agree to it. Deutsch.
Yeah.
Okay, you got a couple words there, but at the end of the day, what does that look like? What does it look like? So that's an important. That's kind of what you're starting off. What Adam got you started off with here is right out of the gate the critical thing. One, am I entertaining? You got to be honest with yourself.
Mm-hmm.
And what that does, if I'm understanding it correctly, is it's posting or posing the way you're going to approach that story. So you need time to figure it out, how to cut out the fat and bring out the details that are needed. And then you've got to understand how entertaining you are and be honest with yourself. So what does all that look like? If I'm learning from you right now, how to turn my stories, my mission, my sales component, my item, my service into a story. What does that look like? How are you teaching people to do that? What are you telling them?
Well, I try to tell people get to the point faster, right? And so it's like, okay, let's draw a straight line between you opening your mouth or the first words they read and that person walking away with information.
Right.
So what do we want them to walk away with? And I typically ask, what can they not walk away without knowing? Like, let's start at the top. Let's make a list. If they walk away from here and they only remember one thing, what is the one thing? You have to be on, like, you have to, like, just, you can't be greedy. Sometimes people have 5 points they want to make because they feel like, I don't know, they feel rushed or they feel nervous or they want to get it over with. There's all sorts of reasons for it. But it's like, what is the number one thing you want them to walk away with? And start to form your message around that, right? Kind of build around where you're trying to get them to, a straight line across. Now, every once in a while in a story, there could be like little diversions, but those little diversions, like, I want them to be additive. And more.
What is a little diversion? What's a little diversion? So you're doing a straight line, a little funny moment or something as well.
Yeah, you can have a little pause moment, a little like fun thing. You're like, you know what? Oh, you know what? Come to think of it, let me just tell you one thing. This is going to help you understand this. Or it reminds me of this time. So I really think, that sometimes like metaphors or analogies are super helpful. Right? There are things that are simple for us to understand. You have a complex thing you're explaining. A scientist is trying to explain the way something works. I won't say
you're on. Yeah, no, I get you. I feel you. I know exactly the image right there.
We can name things that are complex and it's really hard to understand it. So sometimes you have to kind of simplify it to something. What do we understand? Okay, we understand what happened. Oh, here's a throwback. Let's see if you get this one. Okay. Maybe some politicians in the 80s, maybe the wife of a politician, a very famous American politician, they start this war on drugs and they want to let you know all of these things happen in your brain when it comes to drugs, all of these chemicals that it breaks down. And so, Rodd, you tell me, what do they use as a visual to show you what's happening in your brain?
Can I say this? Say this?
Yes.
The egg in the frying pan.
You got it, brother.
Bam!
I knew you'd get it. Crack that.
First thing that came to my head. That's the only effective thing about that whole failed program. And yes, it was Reagan, Nancy. But that thing was a bust. Billions of dollars.
The commercial, though?
Commercial.
30 years later. We remember
everything. And it actually worked. It actually had an effect.
I'm a Canadian. Right. I remember this. This was what you guys were doing down south. That's how we got to do it. Down, and I always get it confused. People get mad at me if I don't say it right. Cracked egg thrown on pan. This is your brain. It's the egg crack. This is your brain on drugs. Wow. Kind of a complex idea at the time of trying to explain what's going on in there. So there you go. There's my example. Did I make my point, Rodd?
100%. You nailed that. You know what? If I ever talk this subject again, how to make a complex idea simple. There probably isn't a better one that I could ever think of besides that. And tough. I guarantee everybody's going to remember.
Can I give you another one? I'll give you another one. Okay. So
I get to use these though. It's in the, whoever you're talking to, the lady I met earlier, make sure she knows I get to use these. I'm taking that.
All yours. These are all yours. Everybody watching, these are all yours. I didn't invent.
Take them, boys. Take them.
I didn't invent any of this. I'm a sharer, right? This is an indigenous tradition. We're oral storytellers, right? We share, we pass along.
Is that the connection?
That's one of the connections. Yeah, that is one of the connections.
I should have made that a better connection earlier. I got some questions on this coming up, by the way. But give me the other one. Give me the other story.
Okay, here's a beautiful one because this really ties to the branding world I live in quite a bit. Is candies, confections at a certain point. You got little chocolates. It's in a little wrapper, and you open it up, and you got your little chocolate. Okay, and so a company called, I think it was M&M's. Yeah. Was it M&M's? Yeah, it was M&M's comes out and they're candy coated, but they're trying to sell it and people don't really, it's not catching on, or I don't really know what's happening at the time. So they go to this ad agency, probably in Chicago, to be honest with you. I'd like to double check.
Where they're made, Mars.
Yeah.
That's where they're made. Yeah.
I bet you it was Chicago. And they go, we've got to convey an idea to them. Okay. So what do? They come up with the slogan, and tell me what they're conveying and who they're conveying it to, Rod. Again, here's another test for you. They come out with
this time.
No, you're going to do this. I have faith in you. They come out, or if anybody in the comments could try to take a guess at it as well. Okay. They come out with the slogan that we all know to this day, but it's a campaign slogan. It ends up sticking for, however long. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands.
Not in your hands. Yeah.
Okay. Melts in your mouth, not in your hands. Who were they speaking to, and what were they trying to communicate, Rod?
Parents, and communicating that your kid's going to be able to, well, you're not going to do as much clothes, but they're going to be able to eat the candy and not have it all over their hands.
Which gets on what?
Their clothes.
No, that you could throw on that you could walk. What is the concern around the house?
Oh, all over the
furniture,
walls and everything else. The furniture.
Yeah.
No kidding. I wouldn't have guessed that. Thank you for the hint, brother. Yeah. Do I still get at least a C?
I think you get a B plus. Maybe even an A-, because you got the general sentiment of it, right? Clothes was part of it too, but like the really expensive item, especially, I don't know if this is the 1960s or whatever, is your furniture, man. You really want to take care of that stuff. So complex idea. We've created
plastic over couches. Do you remember that?
I knew a family that did that. It never felt comfortable over there.
No. Okay.
Yeah. So you get a complex. What's the complex? The complex concept is they come and they go, we've got this candy. It's chocolate, but it's candy coated. And we want to figure out how we communicate that. So anyways, there's another.
I like that.
You use that.
I like that. That's beautiful. Now, this is going to bring in a little bit of a pivot here, just a touch, from Jeffrey Bowman. What's the biggest challenge and this is where that connection I was leaning into earlier, that storytelling. So some of your journey, because you are indigenous, you have your genes, your DNA, you have that background. Is that where storytelling? You grew up because the information in the days back in the day was storytelling passed on from one generation to the next. That's how information and growth and so forth happened back then, right? What's the biggest challenge in Indigenous-led storytelling today?
Geez, I don't
Is there
know.
any difference?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of that. That's a good question. So thank you so much, Jeffrey Bowman. I've never been asked that question before, and I'm trying to think about how to approach it. Indigenous-led story. I just think there's a challenge with all storytelling, right? And I think that using Indigenous traditions or ways of thinking about storytelling has helped me get through the challenge of storytelling, right? And so for me, it's kind of like it's kind of like an accelerant in a way to be like, you know, you spend your life and you get these wonderful opportunities, and I've seeked out these wonderful opportunities to listen to Indigenous storytellers. Now, the difference between me, okay, so I've had to learn some of these techniques and apply them. So I talked about earlier, I grew up on Eddie Murphy. I grew up on hip hop. You know, I remember getting that first Run DMC album. I just saw this album. These three guys, they're wearing all in black and these white Adidas kicks. I remember the album and being like, I gotta have this. Get me this, right? And listening to the precision of rapping. Rapping is such a beautiful art form because really what you're taking again is you're sculpting it down. You're cutting all the fat, right? All of these words, and you're making very dynamic, compelling stories, making points. And so I got really obsessed with that. So I got real kind of fast at getting to the point or figuring out what's the tissue here, what's the meat here. But in Indigenous storytelling, one of the things I really love, it's a bit slower. It takes its time. It bakes the bread, and it as the story, you're ingesting the story, some of the onus is on you to really kind of watch the bread rise, you know, to see it become what it is. And so Indigenous storytelling, it tends to kind of take a bit more of a pace, like what we would call, like in cinema, a slow burn. Like, how was that movie? It was a slow burn. Well, those are beautiful movies when you have the patience. So it asks the audience to have patience with the story. As we lose that, as you know, as a bigger culture, we're losing our patience. I think Indigenous storytelling is kind of bringing that back. So I'm still learning that myself. That's why there's so many mentors, elders, knowledge keepers that I'm constantly learning and listening to and trying to get better.
So the biggest challenge is the fact that in a world that's moving so fast, AI, I mean, we talk about this all the time on the show, how the world is just noisy and just constantly refuses to slow down. In that world that we live in, where we need to, in a story, be able to capture an emotion, capture a moment in somebody to bring that knowledge forward, so they buy in on it. But the biggest issue is that in the Indigenous style, the historical style, the culture of that when I say culture, I mean the bread. You know, when it's coming together and building. It's a slow burn. That's the difficult part, is trying to keep that interest in minds that are almost ADHD all the time, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I think you nailed it right there.
Yeah, I'm interested in when you said that. It made a lot of sense to me, because we are living in a world that's just keeps moving faster and faster, and I have from my own experience realized how much storytelling is. Well, one, you got to understand the person, like you said earlier. You got to
know your audience. That's the great line, right? Know your audience.
Know your audience.
I constantly, some people tell a story sometimes, and I'm looking at them, I'm like, you don't know your audience. I can't follow you.
Right. Yeah, it's like, what do you? Okay, that's a great story, but I don't get what you're saying. Know your audience, and then be able to keep that audience's attention while you're getting to the points where you said earlier, you're cutting off the fat. You want these three main points to be accepted, and now this amazing storytelling technique has to meet multiple boundaries, and that becomes a challenge and takes work to do, right?
Absolutely.
So Cody here, Cody's asking, what's one storytelling habit leaders should break immediately? I like this, because so many people don't. You know, we talked about sales. I'm going with sales. You're talking about more as far as leading teams and so forth. But
it could be whatever you want me.
Yeah,
whatever.
Absolutely.
Wherever you want to put me, I could speak from that point of view.
But there's so many people that don't feed back. So as we're talking, I'm getting cues from you. Our audience is getting cues from you. You're getting cues from their questions. Not enough people take cues today.
It's hard to do. Not everyone's brain is built like that either, right? Sometimes I've come to learn this.
Interesting point.
Yeah,
I used to build on that.
Thank you. I'll take it. I used to have a lot of frustration with. I'm like, what language am I speaking? Why aren't they understanding me? There's no self-ownership there, right? There's no, oh, why don't they understand me? And it's like, oh no. How do I speak in a way that they will understand?
There you go.
And how do I practice that? How do I sharpen that tool? Because everyone just takes it in just fundamentally different ways. And okay. So let's attack his question though, right? What was the question again?
Right here.
Okay, what's one story? I like this question a lot.
I do too. I think it's awesome, and it's unfortunately not thought of enough.
Yeah, there's a lot of habits we all have to break. I'm always trying to break certain types of habits. I try to break the habit of rushing. Sometimes I'm rushing. I should slow it down. Sometimes I am. Here's one thing that I do experience with a lot of leaders. They're not clear on their messaging. Because sometimes when you're in a leadership role, you have a lot of different responsibilities. You have a lot of different things you have to accomplish. And so you want to get right to it. You want to get in front of your team and you want to motivate them, give them a, sorry, go. Shoot.
No, I was just saying, I get exactly what you're saying. I get it.
Yeah. Everybody thinks that they're giving that speech, that Al Pacino speech from Any Given Sunday. Life's a game of inches, right? Look to the left or look to the right of you. It's like, you're not Al Pacino, bud. You know what I mean? You're not the guy that wrote the script for it either. It's just, that's not what's going to happen. What I need you to do, get real clear on your point. What is the one point they can't walk away without understanding? As a leader, you need your team to walk away with a very clear understanding of what it is, what the mission is, what are the action items, and get them to repeat it back to you. And so what's the habit that leaders should break? Leaders should break the habit of gobbledygoo. Stop being a gobbledygoo leader. I think about it. I'll hear sometimes, like when I'll be consulting and I'll sit in on some meetings, some team meetings, and afterwards I'm like, I hate to say it, but you just gobbledygooed at them. And I saw them agreeing with you because they don't want to upset the leader. They go, oh yeah, okay, I get it. Do they get it? You better stop and ask them, make sure they actually got it. Otherwise, you're going to waste a whole bunch of man hours and you're going to go, you did the wrong thing. And then you're going to be mad at them. You didn't even ensure that they understood what the heck you were asking them to do. So break that habit. Break the gobbledygoo habit. Right.
I like the way I really connected when you said people try and rush into it too fast. Like they try and run at the topic and gobbledygook. In maturing in my own profession back in the day, I instantly thought of that because I always wanted to get going and get started and do that whatever. But it makes a lot more sense. The gobbledygook comment you just
Rodd,
yeah,
great line. Yeah. Measure twice, cut once.
Yes.
Anybody that understands carpentry, right? You get here we go. Let's simplify a complex concept. Measure twice, cut once. Prepare. Everybody wants to be the person that goes out there and is just like coming up with stuff and just leading their team because they just had an epiphany the night before. They saw that on TV. They saw whatever character from Mad Men, actually. Great show. Do that. And they're like, don't do that. The people that look like they're not prepared, the people that look like they're out there flowing, they're so prepared. They're so prepared. but they're not just making it up on the spot. You're not that person. Just look at yourself and be like, I'm not that person. I'm the person that really has to prepare. I have to measure twice, cut once. Okay, let's go to the next one. This is exciting. I like this. Right up on the screen here.
So right there, why don't you jump at this one?
I like this. So Chris Hanna asks today, how do you keep brand messaging human and not just marketing? It's funny because I just rebranded my company a couple of years ago. So I used to be called Launchpad. And this is a sidebar, just so you know. I'm now Sky Story Creative, but I used to be Launchpad. And the slogan for Launchpad, which I got so many people hired me just because they liked my slogan. The slogan was, "We speak human." And that was fun because I always used to get people that I would ask them, "What does that mean to you when you hear that?" Because they would ask me and I'd say, "I'm going to bounce it back to you. What does it mean?" So I'm going to do that to you, Rodd. When you hear "we speak human," what does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, you speak within the experiences that I understand. This human experience that I have is, it has different aspects, but you're speaking to me. You're speaking to my heart. You're speaking to me as a human, not as a product or as a discussion. Did I totally miss that one?
No, you nailed it. I loved it.
I did?
Yeah, man, that gave me like a nice little like goosebumps here because I was like, you're speaking to my heart. Man, guys, is there anything in here that like, how do you be like, just speak to people's hearts? Figure out what it is. I mean, I was having a conversation with my videographer earlier and editor as well, and he's editing something, and I look at him and I say, what did I say? What did I ask of you? What emotion? What's the emotion you want them to feel? Right? What is it? Figure that out. What do you want them to feel afterwards? What's that line? Goes, people don't remember what you say to them. People don't remember what you do to them. People remember how you made them feel. It applies to everything.
That's a very famous line, and it couldn't be more true.
Mm-hmm. Some would say it's apropos.
Oh, I like that word.
I just wanted to use a fancy word.
I knew you were doing that on purpose. That's why I specifically reacted to it. We're kind of blowing smoke up each other's dress here a little bit, but
I would say so, man. But we're the ones that chose to wear dresses.
A kilt. I'm calling it a kilt.
Sure, whatever. So whatever makes you feel comfortable.
Hit Danny's comment here.
Danny, okay, I love everybody's thumbnails coming up here. Like they're so professional. Like these.
Isn't that nice?
I freaking love it, man. It's making me,
smile. Oh, you are such a marketer. You're such a smoothie. We've already been going just seconds under an hour. We're still at 400 people. Just seconds under an hour, and this has gone so fast.
Is this a good retention? Are we doing good retention?
Yeah, absolutely. They're staying on. They're staying at that number. Which you've done this. It goes up and down. Sometimes you get a peak number at whatever, and then it drops down to whatever. No, they're sticking, brother. They're sticking. So Danny Jr.
Danny Jr., how can creators avoid generic pitches when approaching clients? I love that because, I read that earlier. Actually, I didn't read. That was the only one I read in advance because it took me a while to click from private chat on here. There's a private chat button and a comments button. And I never switched over to comments for the longest time. And it took me a while to figure it out. And so that was.
By the way, before you answer that, and since you brought that up, I forgot to mention to you, please put in your contact information before the show ends, in the next little bit, whatever. When you get something in that private chat, I don't know why you can't put it right into comments. I don't get why. But if you put your contact, I'll copy and paste it over towards the end so that it isn't lost in the comments. You know what I mean, right?
Absolutely. I'm also going to check and see how gangster everybody is that's in this call. Like if you're genuinely enjoying it, I just opened up my Instagram. Okay. So Cliff Notes is the Instagram. I'm going to see like people that we're
on Instagram.
So yeah. So if you guys, how many of you guys follow me on Instagram during this chat? Okay. I'm going to be paying attention here. it will affect the quality of my answers. Like if I look down here and I'm not getting follows, I'm going to just start, honestly, I'm going to start opening up fortune cookies and just whatever it says. I'll shake one of those magic 8 balls. Outlook is bleak. Doesn't have to make sense to what we're talking about. That's what I'll get. But if the followers go up, man, I'll start waxing poetic.
Fair. By the way, just to add on to what you're saying, we're streaming all at the same time to Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, X, and Instagram. So it's all going out on those stream on my profiles. But just so you know, and by the way, if you're popping on giving him more followers, you could do the same for me too, folks. Okay,
look at you jumping off. See, I do a shameless plug. I don't know.
Hey, I'm going to jump right on that shameless plug.
I did a shameless plug. You did a shameful plug. Okay, I'm playing. I just respect your jump there. That was very clever. Very good. It was beautiful.
I got to think that's a smart move, man. Actually.
Yeah, well, you could have it. It's yours. How can creators avoid generic pitches when approaching clients? Don't use AI to build your pitches. Okay, how about this? If you're going to use AI, give it phenomenal prompts and then edit the crap out of it afterwards and make it your own. Sometimes, you could get a little a bump from it that could help you, because sometimes the empty mind has a hard time putting some stuff down. Sure. Okay, I'll accept that. I'll accept that. How could we avoid generic pitches when approaching clients? Well, one of the techniques you could do is find out about the client. I think that a lot of people, they just want to be like, here's the message I want to form and I'm going to send it to this person. They treat everybody like they're the same person, like humanity is a monolith. We know this isn't true. Who are you talking to? Right? Who are you talking? Don't be weird about it. Like, don't reference their kids' soccer practice or something peculiar. Like, scare them into buying from you. Like, I better buy from this guy.
You got a picture of him laying in bed. Here, you want to buy from him.
That's right. You send over the picture of you in bed, just being like, don't be weird, but do a bit of your homework. I know it's hard to. It depends on what business you're in. Some business, you got to get so many calls in. Some businesses, it's just you could spend some time because it's a longer sales cycle and it's a higher value proposition. So again, those help me to answer the question a little bit better. Those are the questions I would ask you. But again, know who you're talking to. Know your audience. I know there's a through line here, eh guys? Know your audience, know who you're talking to, do a little bit of research, man. People are so online, LinkedIn, checking their social profiles, learn a little something. They're into fishing. Use that, right? Use that to connect. If it's real, don't pretend you're a fisherman, like you're out on the high seas,
That'll come back to bite you in the ass if you honestly. I mean, if you really go down a fake and let's say the guy goes, or the woman or the person, whatever, says, "Oh, okay, he's like me," and that's what people want to buy from. They want to buy from somebody like themselves. That's all you're doing.
We love people like that. This is the reason why we have problems, but it's also the reason why we're beautiful, right? But it's the reason why we have problems, because obviously there's something in our brains. When something's different, it could be dangerous, right? That's how we protected ourselves when we lived in small little tribes. Again, right? We don't have to go too far down that rabbit hole. Okay, let's do this.
There's a lot down that rabbit hole.
That's right.
Going on. Let's do this. What do you want this about?
David Selwood.
What do you want to do?
Let's go. Yep. Let's go, David Selwood. How could workers feel more seen and valued through stories?
I like this.
This is an angle I love, because not a lot of people come at it from this
Great question, David. Great question.
Yeah.
David.
Oh, man. It's hard to be seen in life. So many of us feel invisible. We all have moments of feeling, all of us. You're maybe seeing me and you're seeing a certain personality type, perhaps. and you think, oh man, maybe he doesn't have a problem being seen. I could assure you that I do. And because sometimes you're not seen by the people that you want to have see you. And sometimes you're helpless to that, right? So that's just a part of life. That's the human experience. Being seen by your team, colleagues, your bosses can be really tricky because sometimes they're really busy. They're really scatterbrained. They have a lot of pressure. They have a lot of stuff going on. So they may have a hard time slowing down. I think sometimes it's like anything, you know, and it could be a mistake on their behalf. And so you're trying to close the gap a little bit. How do we make it easier on them? I use this, I try to like use this as a way to like explain how people could do this sort of thing. I think of how do we make friends, for example? Well, we look for commonality, right? I referred to that earlier. We look for commonality. Yep. Once you have commonality, you could build rapport because you build the rapport around the commonality. Once you have the commonality, given time and nurturing, you build connection. Connection is the most important thing we could have, true, real connection. It's hard to force connection. And so storytelling, I guess, is a way. Storytelling, I know it's got the word telling in it. But there also has to be like a version of story hearing, you know, understanding, let's say if it's your boss, understanding your boss's pain points. How are you making their life easier? How do you position yourself as the person that could help them? And then when you do that, and if you're able to do that, because I guarantee so many of your bosses also don't feel heard by somebody. So if you actually hear them, you know, there's this concept of the law of reciprocity, right? If you hear your boss, if you're so busy trying to be heard, sometimes you're not listening. And so if you could stop and listen to your boss, you could connect with them in a different way.
Oh, I like that. So it really comes back to really being outside of yourself and into whether you're listening to that person or talking to that group. Mm-hmm. That's where the connection kind of really starts to dial in.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. Also practice. You
got to practice, prepare and practice. 3 P's, right?
That's right. Practice. Are we talking about practice? Are we talking about practice? Where's that from?
Do you watch him? Do you watch him?
Yeah, a little bit. Yeah.
I love that dude. He is everything we're talking about today. By the way, there's 500 people on. I was wrong earlier. There's 500 people. And they're staying right there. Yeah.
They put.
You know, you mentioned, and there's another famous line in his, what's the name of the show? I'm going blank on his name.
I'm forgetting the name of the show.
But did you see the dart? Did you see the dart where he plays darts with the owner?
No, I didn't see that one.
So last season, I haven't watched it. I just watched the little clips. I haven't watched it actually, the whole show. But when you mentioned who was the poet that you mentioned a line from?
Oh, dude, you're asking me to remember stuff now. Like
no, you're the poet. The poet
so
you just
great.
talked about.
Mark Twain.
Mark Twain. So the reason I bring that up is because he brought up another very famous saying by Mark Twain from one of his poems, and it's called "Be curious, not judgmental."
And I love that
because if they were curious, they would ask me, "Have you ever Ted Lasso?"
I love Ted Lasso. That show is so good.
If they were curious, they would ask me, "So Ted, have you ever played darts before?" Pop. Yeah, every day from when I was 10 to 16 till my dad passed away. And then, another question. One of the greatest statements I've ever heard in my life, and what hooked me onto Ted Lasso's show, Ted Lasso, was be curious.
Yeah.
Not judgmental. Isn't that amazing?
I think it's the best. I also think we got our wires crossed because, and that show is referencing a real life thing that happened, right? And so do you know what the real life thing that happened when the practice thing? Practice? We talking about practice?
Yeah. The real life thing was that he was a leader and he was just being a dick. He was being a self-absorbed.
No, sorry, I got to call you out on this one. It's Allen Iverson. So there's a very famous clip of Allen Iverson being asked by a reporter if he was showing up to practice, and it annoyed Allen Iverson. And it's so funny. You guys all look it up. It's a funny clip of practice. We talking about practice? Oh, yeah. It is magical.
It was actually you know what? It's funny because Ted Lasso used that. That was the main.
That's what I'm saying.
The main character.
Yeah.
We stole it from him. Allen Iverson did.
It wasn't a stealing. It's not like an homage. Like that's the comedic like reference. It's funny if you don't get the reference, but it's funnier when you get the reference. That's what he's referring to. Yeah.
I did not catch that, but I do remember that interview because it is a very famous interview. Very, very famous.
Very funny. So see, that's one of our side tracks, but it's all good. It was fun. It was entertaining. Are you not entertained? Gladiator.
Yes, sir. So Jack here, how can entrepreneurs build brands that reflect who they are, not just what they sell? This isn't necessarily one of the best questions of the day, but it's probably one of the most important ones for people that are taking away lessons from here.
Jack, we do this thing in our agency when we're working on a brand with somebody. We call them mood boards. Some people call them theme boards. Some people call them vision boards. We call them mood boards.
Gotcha.
And the whole point of the mood board for us, we usually present three. Three feels like a nice number of mood boards to present somebody. We're at the beginning stage and we're trying to understand the client. And we're trying to understand how they want their audience to feel when they experience their brand. And so the mood board is this great visual with, a rationale, written out rationale of here's a mood. And I always say, try to attach a moment, a feeling to it, right? It could be something as this brand is sensational. And then we use imagery that is like what we imagine sensational to be in our minds. And then we present that to the client so that the client could go, oh, I also think that's sensational as well. Oh, and I'd love my brand to be sensational. And for people to feel whatever the feeling is when you experience something that's sensational. And so we really try to work to find the imagery, and then we try to find the words, and we put that all together, right? We'll build out a whole kind of like brand guide. And so understanding like the words, the copywriting that is attached to that thing, sensational, or I try to avoid like some of the ones that feel more generic, that you want to dig a little bit deeper, than what some people are like honest or fun or professional. That's one that I want my brand to feel professional. That I've been asked 1,000 times, and it's like, we could do better. Let's keep going. What does that mean to you? What does professional mean to you? Does it mean that you guys get the job done? Maybe does it mean that you guys wear suits and ties to work every day? What's the relevance to your audience in that? Or is it that you want to portray luxury? Or maybe you don't want to portray luxury. Maybe you want to project value, There's a big difference between using the word value and using the word cheap, right? So there's an example there of like the language 100%. You use will affect things. It's like, we sell cheap products.
No.
Okay. Don't know if I want to go there. Might skip that one. So it's like trying to understand when somebody's interacting with your brand. We call it touch points. That's one of those terms, right? Touch points. What's the touch point? Yep. They watch a TV commercial. They see your billboard. They see your ad in a magazine. These are all touch points. And whenever somebody interacts with one of the touch points of your brand, what do you want that experience to be? What do you want them to feel, the sensation of it? And so it's like asking yourself the right questions as much as possible. So that's it. I think, I don't know, maybe that answers that question, I hope.
That was a brilliant answer, and makes me want to. I do want to maybe chat with you a little bit on how we can kind of.
It's gonna cost you. You better bring the big bucks, buddy. You better bring a big old basket of bucks. See that? Okay. That's fun alliteration. And I probably
old basket of bucks. So I can bring the little. I got a basket of bucks. I don't know how big it is.
Oh, that's so we can talk. All right. Okay, we can talk
about it, man. We can talk about it.
I'm playing.
No, I loved your answer. Absolutely loved it. So this is going back to a little bit earlier when I alluded to. Are we going to talk a little bit about Indigenous people? And by the way, my God, we're coming up on that hour and a half that you talked about.
We're having fun, though. I'm having fun.
Yeah,
we're good. We're good. I'm good. I'm good so far. I was worried at first when you're like, it's go up to 3 hours. I was like, oh, I'm leaving.
Yeah. No, 3 hours. 3 hours gets tiring. It gets a little exhausting, no doubt. So, Ichel here. What is the best way to bring Indigenous values into a business operation?
Okay, thank you for this question. Ichel,
I like this question.
Ichel, like, let us know if we're saying this right. Thank you for bringing
She's been on. She's been on before, and she's answered that because I've had the same trouble with it. Yeah. So Ichel.
I've got this software company. Got two of them. That they're very much in they're in their startup phases, though, so let's not get too excited yet. But they're I think they have a lot of potential. One of them is called the Indigenous Kore. It's spelled with a K. We call it TIC, a short form. That one's kind of designed to increase Indigenous participation in the workforce. The other one is called IPP Tracker. In Canada, our government has this thing that they've launched called Indigenous Participation Plans. They are designed to motivate companies to bring in more Indigenous vendors, work with Indigenous communities on projects, stuff like this. It's an Indigenous Canada government relations, public relations, cooperation, right? We won't even get into the history, but this is important, right? And so that other company, IPP Tracker, ipptracker.com, if you're interested, it's a software company that helps contractors, construction industry, specifically, right? If you're a builder and you're building giant skyscrapers, it helps you to track your spend, right? You have a certain money earmarked for your spend on Indigenous vendors, Indigenous people, Indigenous products. And what happens is there's actually a set aside.
Wait. This is the one that tracks their efforts, their time, that's the software you're talking about, right? Because I was going to talk about that.
They both do a version of that. No.
Okay, go ahead.
So both of them are. IPP Tracker does a version of tracking like a more macro, whereas TIC is more kind of micro in people, like hires, tracking the hires, the time, all that. IPP Tracker is like your overall spend, right? And the way this benefits companies in Canada is that there's a hold back. So if the government hires you for a project to build a government federal building, could be $100 million billion project. There is a set aside amount that if you actually follow through with your Indigenous participation plan at the end of the project, you get that money as the company, right? So it's a way to motivate them to participate, hiring vendors and stuff, as opposed to staying with the old boys club where you're hiring all your friends and the money just stays in one pocket of people. It's kind of like helping these other companies get more opportunities to really work on these projects. So, okay, I say all of that not because I'm trying to pitch my software, because I don't know that anybody watching this would have a reason for using it. But I say it because one of my through lines, I don't call it a tagline because it's not the tagline, but one of my through lines with the companies is weaving Indigenous ways of being into the digital tools that the world uses. And so that's why I'm so appreciative of that question, because I think that there's so many Indigenous values from like the first peoples of the land that we live on that are like so practical and so appropriate for the very fast-paced world we live in today. All right, a lot of setup there. I appreciate that I set that up a lot and I wasn't as concise as I could be, but I think that that prologue is important to answering this question. What's the way to bring Indigenous values? Understand Indigenous values, learn them, learn some of the stories, you know, learn about the 7 hunters hunting the bear for years until they hunt the bear all the way into space. And that if we look up, we could see them. And that's what the Big Dipper is. I know it's like, well, what's the practicality of that story? Well, that story helps us to understand, if we're early Indigenous people, that helps us to understand the sky. If we know the story behind it, we know the constellation, and that could help guide us through the world in a practical way. And so understand the ways in which those stories were told, understand some of the stories, and just learn a little bit at a time, and then you could kind of bring them into some of your methods. I don't know. I hope that answers the question.
Yeah. So what you're really saying is, you know, do your homework. It's that, but while you're doing that and you're learning these lessons, there's some important aspects of things that we don't remember. How, you know how you have 3 brains. You have the brain of your head, you have the brain of your heart, you have the brain of your gut instinct.
I thought the third brain was gonna be a little lower, but okay.
Well, there is that brain, but we're not focusing on that one today.
Okay, good.
A little bit late. That's later in the day, maybe, if we're all lucky.
Okay. Fingers crossed.
Or at least if all our males are lucky. I'm just gonna do that.
Yeah. I like how you wiggled out of that. I put you in a corner there. But you got out of it nicely, Rod. I liked it. It was good.
So the brain of the gut is called gut instinct. Okay. The only reason I bring that up is because that's what our bodies and our system, you know, when something happens and all the brain is really for is to send those chemicals out to the body for it to do whatever it needs to do for whatever that thing that is happening is going on. But what we don't do enough is a couple of things, which I'm still building. What we don't do is we don't listen to our gut instinct. Like that's there and it's giving us, you know, that if it's too good to be true, it probably isn't. You know, those kind of things were built from things like gut instinct, getting to understand what's really good or not good for you. Same thing here. The tribal leaders and the history of being connected to the earth and to the sky. There's many stories that we still understand today that came from those times. So one, knowing the person that you're talking to is how you I'm on the wrong question here, on how you bring those values in, but also you should start doing that because a lot of the best knowledge on earth today comes from times that were before our time. Does that make sense?
For sure. Of course, they didn't figure out how to build a cell phone 1,000 years ago, but they did understand. Well, it would have been dope back then. Imagine you were like the only person. Like, who are you talking to, man? Who are you talking to? You're not talking to nobody. You're the only one with a cell phone. You look like a lunatic, man. I say that. No, but they did understand fundamental truths about humanity. They were right to certain degrees. So take what works and throw away what doesn't.
Last question. Okay. Last question. So let's also, I think we're at about an hour and a half. I don't see any new questions coming on. I don't see your your contact information. So could you do that for a second?
Wait, me, are you talking to me?
I'm talking to you.
As far as you want
contact information.
Oh, where do I put that? So I didn't realize you were talking to me when you said that.
Oh, private chat.
Okay,
private chat. You mentioned private chat. You saw it on the right side, right?
I saw it on the left side, and in there.
Oh, it's on your left. It's on my right.
Okay, all right. Stage left, stage right. Okay.
So click on private chat and then type in there what contact information you want. I'll see a little red button that pops up and says, "Hey, there's a message for you here."
Oh, so
I'll copy and paste that over.
I'll just put my email in there. People could email.
Yeah, whatever the best contact information for you is, because you know how it works, man. You've done this before. There it is, right there. You've done this before. It could be an hour from now, it could be a year from now, or a day or a week from now. But somebody's going to say, "Hey, Cliff, that's a great point. I wish I would have been on live. I would have asked him this." Well, now they got your because if they make comments on the show, I love that. People do that all the time, but I don't watch that every day. This person can send you their email or an email to you. And I'm trying to time this out well. And that's correct. Correct?
Oh, that is right. Yeah, that's my name
and
my email.
Not bad. Not bad. So why don't you answer Dixon here?
I do.
What advice would you give to Freeland?
I know. I trampled on it.
You didn't trample on it. Oh wait, have you commented? Did I totally miss it? You're just fucking with me now.
I'm fucking with you a little bit. It's fun, but I want to make sure we don't miss the part of this conversation where we bring Canada and America back together. All
right, let's answer this question. Let's bring Canada and America back together, and then we can close it up.
Love it. Okay.
We'll take as long as we need to make this whole Canada-America thing work.
We got to do it. This is our chance. I mean, I know our guy, Mark Carney's up there trying to make things happen with Mr. President Trump. Maybe it's us. Maybe we're the ones that need to do it. I mean, they got the president and prime minister up there. That's what we have up here. We have a prime minister, which is a pretty cool sounding term. But maybe it's just a couple of jabronis like Rodd and Cliff. Maybe we're the ones that do this, and so.
Well, you guys have some infighting going on right now, don't you? Didn't the west side of Canada want to secede or something? There's something big going on.
No. I mean, there's always something.
Games. That's just games.
That's just people talking. Every once in a while, you'll hear Alberta be like, "Yeah, we want to do our own thing." The longest one that we've had going on in Canada, though, is Quebec. They've got a, that's gonna happen. You know what I mean? There's infighting everywhere. Sometimes there's infighting in the office.
California wants to secede from the nation every once in a while. Texas wants to. They're tired of California.
Yeah, it is what it is. It is. Okay, let's answer this question. What advice would you give freelancers trying to stand out with their pitch? It's the same thing. Who are you pitching? Find out something about them. It's going to go back to my same advice, right? It is find the commonality, build rapport over time, and nurturing. You will build a connection. And so when you're trying to stand out, depends on I don't know what kind of freelancer you are. So how are you demonstrating your work? How are you demonstrating your value? How is it that you are crafting that value proposition to suit the required goals?
I saw you look at it.
Pitching. Yeah. Tell me about Canada. That got me excited.
I saw you look at that. I just wanted to fuck with you.
I know. Listen, if there's not a little bit of fuckery going on, what are we doing? What are we doing here?
What's the use?
Yeah, we need a little fuckery. That's my answer to your question. And
just really get to know who it is that your audience in this case, or your customer or your team member is. Know where that stands. Know who they are. Be authentic, and you can only be authentic if you know the authentic story.
Let's go one step further. Know who this one I'm gonna drop a cuss. So if you don't like cussing, you put your fingers in your ears, okay? Figure out who the fuck you are too. Okay? Guys,
yeah.
Most of you don't know. No. Some of you watching this right now, you know it. You're nodding your head, or I don't know, maybe you think that whatever your identity is something. It probably isn't, right? Figure out who you are, understand your identity, and then embrace that. People will love that. People will love it. Whoever you are, whoever you really are, and you're watching this and listening, I promise you, people are going to love it. Some people aren't. We don't need those people. We don't care about those people. The people that are going to love it, they're going to love it, man. They're really going to love it. They're going to want to be around you. They're going to enjoy you. And the people that don't, they're going to avoid you. That's fine. That's a favor. Thank you.
100%. It's a nice filter, isn't it? So you're talking about right now what we talk about quite a bit, which is, building yourself from the inside out. That's so much of what this story, like you just said, know the fuck yourself,
Yeah.
That you have to, because you said it earlier, you have to be authentic to be successful in any of these kind of actions, any of this kind of career, or any of this, whatever you're going over. And you can't be authentic unless you actually really do work on yourself and believe who you are. And you have to do that by homework.
I get that some people are going to be like, well, what about this person? What about this? What about this person? Those are con men. Those are con men. They have crafted a skill set that not only do you never want to have, you're probably never going to have. That's a specialty skill set that's it's depraved, and it will rot your soul. And I don't know what you believe in. We all have our different beliefs. I just don't think that you're going to be laying in your deathbed saying, man, I sure did trick all those people into this thing. And I feel good about that. Frig, do you know how much cooler it is to be like, man, I was myself and I managed to make some stuff happen. And I didn't pull it all off, but I really did it the best way I could, being who I am. That's what's up.
We talk about it being behind the mask, or taking off that mask, being authentic or being not. It is such a different feeling. And I've gone through this personally. I've gone through an issue over the last couple of years, ago. But that removal of the mask, or now becoming authentic, becoming who you are, not what you perceive the rest of the world to be, or what makes a fast buck. There's such a difference in how you rest at night, how you sit at night. And like you said, it's so cool. I was myself and I made that stuff happen. Now, as we wrap up, brother, tell me why America should come up there and kick his little brother's ass.
Oh, shit. Number one, because both times you tried, and I hope you guys know your history, both times you tried, you lost. Okay, so that's going to be the starter. America has tried to invade Canada 2 different times.
I did not know this. Talk to me.
Absolutely.
I did not know this.
Yeah, 2 different times, and got fucking annihilated by us both times.
No kidding.
Yes, and there was another time. I think the second time was like 1820 or something like that. I mean, I'm not a historian. Go check this out. And then in the late 1800s, you'd never believe what America tried to do to us. You'd never believe what they attempted to do to submit us into becoming America.
I have no idea. What did we try to do? What is we are not good people. So.
The T. No, you guys are great people, but sometimes the leaders aren't necessarily. I don't know.
True.
They've got their own plan. I don't know what half their agendas are. Tariffs. They tried the tariff thing before. And
tariffs have been going on with you guys for a long time.
There's been all sorts of stuff throughout history, but it's the size of the tariffs, right? And so so it was. I mean, these things have been done before, and so I don't know that it's in anybody's best interest to get into a butt kicking. Obviously, we understand you guys have the gigantic GDP and massive military. Nobody wants that. We don't want that. Of course not. Because it wouldn't be good for anybody. And it wouldn't be good for Americans either. I mean, what does that say to the rest of the world, right? How do you build trust with the rest of the world? What does that say about Americans? And I think most Americans, they don't want that. I mean, it's a better world if we're all able to get along and to be able to work together and work with each other. And the reality is America can't be in a I don't think any country could be in a situation where they insulate themselves from the rest of the world and expect a great result from that. I mean, the cat's what do they say? I don't think that's how it goes. Not cats out of the bag. Yeah, I don't think that's the one I'm looking for, but it's almost like I understand globalism has negative effects and there's some positive effects. These are two different things. And I think it's really difficult, even from a psychological and a sociological point of view. We're not designed to think of billions of people and us being able to all get along and be one unified monolithic group. It's never been done in human history. It's really, really, really challenging, but we do have to figure it out, and we will figure it out, and we figure it out together. And, countries are a bunch of businesses as well. And so everyone's trying to run their business the best way they can. I think business collaborations tend to be incredibly beneficial for both companies most of the time. And I think that Canada and America has had like an incredible net positive relationship. And yeah, we don't have to be the same country. Like, why? We don't need to be.
I think what we do need to do is really, really continue to build on the North American concept. Meaning, what you said it earlier, you're North American, I'm North American, Mexico's North American, right? Mm-hmm. That's our strength to continue to build upon. I just think that I think that right now the current administration has a lot of issues with what's happened in the past. Not Canada. I'm not talking specifically relationships here, but I'm thinking that there's so much money that the taxpayers pay. We spend $16.8 trillion a year, and very little of that goes to the American people. I mean, that's
you don't have the biggest military in the world for nothing. That costs. That's not cheap.
It costs a ton of money, and it's the reason that I think a lot of this has kind of gone back and forth, because that old saying that I think a lot of Americans support is that the spending of the amount of your GDP to protect yourself is always falling on our shoulders, meaning America's shoulders, meaning the American tax dollars shoulders. Now, the military infrastructure loves that. It's one of the biggest scumbag things in our world, not just because it's war and war's bad and death is horrible and all those things that Trump says he doesn't want. So we're kind of supporting some things that I think other parts of the world don't understand, but we're understanding because there's the history and because we listen to Trump. I mean, half the country does anyway. Not necessarily the other half, but this is a man that's has been in office two different times. Well, will be at two different times over the time. But since 40 years ago, he's talked about these same things. If you go back and listen to the Oprah Winfrey show and all these different things, this is a man that I think at least 7.5 million people, or 17, whatever the voting thing is. I think they believe in the fact that here's one person that understands where all this comes from. And it comes up from and I live in rural America where people struggle. I mean, the average, the poverty line is like 40,000, but our senators and our House representatives, they make, most people in Kentucky make under that. And a lot of other areas. The staff or the Congress people in our government, their budget per year for their furniture in their offices is $43,000.
That's crazy. Yeah.
So when you see reactions coming, yeah, there's a big divide. There's a disconnect. Is really what there is. There's a disconnect. And does everybody who lives underneath the poverty line deserve to be there? Well, there are probably some that do, but at the end of the day, I don't know how hard you guys work to create your lifestyle and not live paycheck to paycheck, but so many people in America do. And it's the military and it's all the rest of the corruption. And we're not pointing at fingers in other places of the world. We're saying for the first time in my life, I've become not embarrassed, but disappointed to become an American, because I realize how corrupt our politicians and our politics actually are.
Yeah, I think I think we have in Canada, we have conservatives and liberals, and then we've got a couple.
Is it the same as us? Are your conservatives?
We're not. Yeah. There's a matchup. Our conservatives are like your Republicans. Our liberals are like your Democrats. But I would say our conservatives and our liberals tend to be a little bit closer to center, from my observation, than yours seem to be a little bit further.
True. Yeah, that's not true. You know what it is?
What?
Most of I'd say 80% of America is in the middle. Maybe 90.
No, sorry, I'll be more clear.
The loudest voices come from the extremists, though.
Sorry, I'll be a bit clearer. I mean, from like the party point of view. I don't mean from like the people point of view. I mean like the parties themselves. And I base that off of the rhetoric. The rhetoric of Republicans and liberals Republicans and Democrats versus in Canada, our rhetoric is not as extreme as yours. It's objectively not as extreme as yours.
I agree with that.
And I think that's why even when we don't get along, we don't get along well, if that makes sense. We're good at not getting along, right?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair.
And I think a lot of that.
I didn't even realize we didn't get along until a couple of years ago. I never knew there was an issue.
I suspected. Now, I didn't tell you this, but part of my career too, when I first started off, I worked in news. So I worked for, in Canada, we have something called CTV. So that's our big news station here. So I spent a few years in news, and I mean, I remember the Barack Obama days. I remember I remember the rhetoric between the two parties and how extreme that was. Even though there was some beautiful sentiments going on around the time, there was some pretty crazy, from our perspective, right? This is just a Canadian's perspective. It felt really like, wow, wild. Like, you'll say that? Oh my God, as if they said that. They're allowed to say that about that person? Like, it was pretty shocking. And like your political like ads, like, man, I would love to show you our political ads versus like what our political ads are. So there's a major difference in the not that ours is great. Ours is sneaky. Like ours is like more like a passive aggressive. It's sneaky, passive aggressive.
Absolutely. I was gonna say that.
I mean, I love a lot of aspects about our country, but I could sit and point out our flaws. We're really good at being the nice guy, but the nice guy, you got to keep an eye on them sometimes, right? The nice 100%. Nice guy's kind of slippery, right? Because
speaking of your commercials, did you see the one where they edited Ronald Reagan's? Speaking of tariffs.
So that was our premiere, the premiere of the province I'm in. So Doug Ford, and so that was an interesting thing. So that's the province I live in. So each of our kind of like you guys have governors of your states. We have premiers of our provinces, and so that was our premier of our province. So basically, like our governor, Doug Ford, basically went ahead and did that on his own. And it was kind of like a tricky.
$1 billion or something.
Some ridiculous amount of money.
Huge amount of money.
Ridiculous amount of money. When there's just, you think you're like, there's so many other things to spend that money on. But also he went over kind of, he didn't, the prime minister and the president, that's foreign relations, right? That's what their role is. Like, you don't want your governors doing foreign relations. They're taking care of their state. Just like we don't want supposed to be. Just like we don't want our premier doing this. Like, the country voted in Mark Carney, and again, everyone's going to be divided on these decisions. That's his role. He's a very diplomatic guy. If you see when Mark Carney is in there with good, he's super. He's a smooth operator, man. He stays on point. Like, I mean, again, I know we're running out of time, but like, man, I just, even for a second, like, New York's new mayor, Mamdani, dude, Mamdani, I think I said, dude, that guy is a smooth operator. You want to talk about a
dude is only in his 30s. My God, that guy is amazing. I think 32, yeah. I think. But yeah, he's smooth as.
So yeah, I don't have the same fears, but that's all right. That's all right. That's a whole other discussion we could have on another day. But what I will say, because I relate to him,
lean a lot more. You guys lean more left than we do.
Depends. At certain times, yeah. But yeah, I would say so. Even our conservatives.
I think right now you do.
Oh, for sure, right now we do. And so, a lot of Canadians are like,
you're kind of like Europe. You're kind of like Europe right now, going through.
I think we have a lot of similarities there. I relate to Mamdani because we grew up on all the same stuff, him and I. The same music, the same kind of communities, even though I'm not in New York, I'm not I still connected with all of those communities. So there's absolutely a lot of ways in which I kind of connect with this guy. But what I really appreciate as somebody who likes to think of themselves as a communication experts, he gave a master class. If you want to look outside, okay, I understand. There's all sorts of thoughts, worries, concerns, blah, 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 blah. Just if you could try to remove it and look at how he operates, okay, from like just a purely professional point of view, what can we learn? I can't tell you how many times, I'm not a Trump guy. Sorry, I'm just not. Okay, sue me. But I have studied him a lot. And I'm like so fascinated from just from a communication perspective, from an effectiveness perspective, from a persuasion perspective. There is something that these people have, that a Trump has, that a Mamdani has, that a Barack Obama has. There's something they have, and if you don't study it, you don't learn it, and you don't try to apply it, you'll just lose, because then you're just stuck in your emotions and your politics and I'm on this side, they're on that side. And it's like, no, don't do that. Learn from it and apply it to your trade and what you do.
And that's the thing we just got to do, is we got to quit saying whatever he is or she is, nothing counts because I feel this way from that person. But if there's something there to be learned and to be gained from, you gotta capture that, man.
I think we could tie this up really beautifully with a ball. Okay. Mamdani.
Doing your closing, as you're closing.
Okay. When you think of his messaging, what was the messaging point he stuck to? What was it, Rodd?
It's anti-capitalism is what he's doing. But
okay, hold on. No. What that we could kind of come up with other terms for it or whatever. He stuck to one key point the entire time. It begins with an A and it's got quite a few syllables in it. Every conversation he was in, every question he was asked, he brought it back to one thing every single time. And I challenge you to go out and watch his interviews, and he brings it back to one thing during this race every single time. It's a masterclass.
Let me off the hook.
Affordability.
Well,
affordability. It was the number one thing he talked about. He used it as a pivot with pure brilliance. Every time somebody tried to put him in a corner, if you were to become the mayor of New York City, what would, on your first trip, how quickly would you make your first trip to Israel? Dude A goes, oh, I'll go there. Dude B goes, Comey or what? Not Comey, but whatever. I can't remember, the former governor.
Yeah. I know who you're talking about.
He's like, oh, I'll go there right away. Mandami, I'm not going to go there. Why not? Oh my God. Why wouldn't you go there? He's like, because I'm the mayor of New York. I need to be right here and making sure that this city is affordable. That's his answer. His answer over and over and over. Okay. What did I say earlier in this conversation? When people walk away, what do you want them thinking about and remembering? Not 10 different points, 25 different things. One thing that they can't walk away without forgetting. Mandami won that race because he knew for actual New Yorkers, their biggest pain point is affordability. Doesn't give a fuck about what the billionaires and the multimillionaires and all didn't care, because it doesn't matter. He cared about one thing. So that's what I'm using to tie this up. And I know, Rod, I think we may have some different opinions on the politics of this, and that's a fun conversation for another day.
No, actually we don't. But I do want to have a conversation about it on another day. I would love to do a follow-up.
Let's tease it. Let's tease it right now. There'll be a part 2, but he stayed on point. Guys, learn from this. You guys are asking about pitches. How do I stand out? Brand messaging. Don't have 50 million points, man. Have 1 point and make it over and over and over and over again.
Yeah, and there's a very simple reason why. Absolutely. Bam, nailed that. And you know what the biggest deal is? The first 5 times you tell somebody that, they won't even remember. 6, 7, 8, 9, then they start sticking to that 1 point, driving it home. Makes all the difference in the world. Brother, great show. And I do want to have that discussion back and forth, because there are some things I disagree with, and there's affordability in a city that is probably the most expensive in the world to live. Well, yeah, that's a point that's going to drive home. But
pick the right point. Pick the right point to focus on.
And stay with that and drive it home, man.
Don't go out there as you're running for mayor in New York talking about Israel and Palestine.
Well, you know why they did that. Somebody wanted a gotcha moment, and he swerved around it, because there's that whole issue with Jews and Palestine.
I'll tell you again, once again, as somebody that worked in news and works in the business of getting attention, everyone needs a headline so that their website gets clicked, so that advertisements pay their bills. The private Americans have a privatized media, right? Okay, you've got PBS, you've got NPR. Okay, sure. I mean, that's not who people are tuning into for their news. Again, one of the differences in Canada, sorry, I hate to brag a little bit, and I know that some people have a problem with this, but we've got CBC. It's public broadcast, right? Europe has BBC, right? Australia has ABC, right? Not the ABC you guys have. They have Australian Broadcast Corporation.
System. Yeah.
And I think it's super key. But again, that's another can of worms.
It is, and it's a big can of worms, because it doesn't necessarily. Public TV has a tendency to get swayed, very much so. And it's just part of
who's getting swayed more. Who's getting swayed more, right? That's the argument.
Right now, all public radio is swayed to the left. All of it. Yours, the BBC, because I watch all of these. Look at N24, which is the Jewish public broadcast. They swing also to the left, but more center. But BBC, very left-leaning. The Canadian.
Isn't that the question to walk away with, though? Isn't the worthwhile question to walk away with? Why is it that public media that tends to lean left? That's an interesting question to me. I'm not going to give you the answer because I don't necessarily have it. Okay. All right.
We'll leave it for the show next time.
Fun, eh? Okay, let's do that. Let's leave it on that note.
All right, brother. You waved to everybody. Like I said, 500 and some odd people just loving what you're doing. And
I lost them all at the end.
We both did. Stay with us for a second. I'll say bye to you in the green room, but let's definitely set up a show and let's talk politics, because I really want to, get into what some of the misconceptions are on both sides. And at the end of the day, it isn't about red or blue for our country. I don't know what you guys, but it isn't about the elephant or the donkey. It's about the great middle class, and for America, and by extension the world. And the reason being is because we all got to fix this. There is a let me do this. Give everybody a big wave, and I'll finish this off, and I'll come and see you in the green. There is a big concern in the world today. Something that I've been talking about for a little bit. The Jetsons are not only coming, but the Jetsons are here, my friends. And AI is going to give us a utopia that we don't have an understanding for. But I can tell you this: products and services, the cost of those things through AI and through automation and OI and all the stuff that's coming are going to drop to such a very low amount of cost that we're really going to be able to get, not really at some point, not have to work. I mean, with robots doing this and this doing that, and the cost of living coming down. But here's the thing: if our politicians control the narrative as that's really rolling in, and that's all the politics that I'm concerned about. I've always lived by trust but verify. I believe the current administration is doing some good things. I also know that that's not necessarily all the case, because we only hear about what we hear about, and so we need to have the ability to come together. That's why I was so excited when Cliff said, let's talk about how to bring America and Canada back to being more friendly together. And I never realized there was an issue until I think it was during Biden's, or going right into Biden's administration, when the lumber tariffs, and there were some issues back and forth, some friction going on. And then we just talked about the Reagan commercial and different things that are happening. But what's important is we come together for these lessons. We educate ourselves from the inside out. Cliff gives our business leaders and our entrepreneurs a message and a roadmap on how to improve their abilities to run their own companies or their own teams or their own institutions. The point that I'm making here is that when that utopia comes, we're either going to be the beneficiary of it, or our different governments are going to place us in positions that are needed, whether that's beneficial to us in the utopian world or not. And I know utopia is kind of this 60s love child kind of feeling it comes about, but this is what's really coming down the pace. And how that world is going to look is either going to be up to us, the great American middle class, the largest, most powerful thing in the world that's ever been. And that includes Canada, by extension, the working class, the middle class, however you want to call Europe. Who built the infrastructures? Who built the economic systems? Who is the backbone? Yes, we need leaders. Leaders need to lead. They have the vision. They have the thing. We have a democratic republic. Why? Because we vote people in to go do our bidding. We're not a democracy. If it was 50-50, New York and California would run everything because they have the most population, right? So we don't have a democracy. We should not have a democracy, because everything would be voted by at that point, the majority can say you need to no longer listen to the minority. Then what do you have? So what do we have? We have a democratic republic, and we have the freedom of speech. Those are two things the rest of the world don't have. Our leaders, our founders gave us those two tools, those things that make us different than the rest, and nothing against any other country in the world, but we have just a little bit more power to say what happens in our country than our leaders do, than other countries do. And that's a beautiful thing because, well, before I say that, we don't deserve that. Our founders, yes, they were not good people necessarily. They were elites, definitely. But you know what they did? They gave us this tool. And they said, you know what? It should be coming from the people. It should be for the people. And it should be by the people. So we vote elected officials in to go do our bidding, right? That's how all of this structure works in a very simplified form. But at the end of the day, if we're not coming together, my friend Cliff, who leans further one direction than I lean, or I that lean a different direction, if we are coming together and able to create that narrative, that discussion, and say, okay, a bunch of us believe, yeah, that makes sense. That looks good. Let's keep that up. But if we are voting people in or voting people out on their merits and their abilities and the words that they've kept, the promises that they've kept, the campaign promises that were out on then how are we ever going to get to the point where actually the middle class benefits? Day to day to day to day, we live check by check. We live strap to strap to strap. Meanwhile, our political leaders are doing things that don't benefit us at all. And that's on both sides of the aisle. I'm not picking on Democrats or Republicans because personally, I could give a crap about Democrats or Republicans or whatever you call them up in Canada, conservatives and liberals. I don't care about this. I vote split ticket, periodic, not always, but periodically, because I know local leaders that are from the other side of an aisle I may or may not approve of, but that person has a really good reputation or a really good idea or a really good way to move forward. So I'm voting for that person. I'm not voting for their party. Today, all of everything we talk about in politics is about the party. It's not about the people. And where we're getting it wrong is we're not coming together. I like to call them watch parties. There's some that we started out in California, believe it or not. Producer Barbie has held several, and it's kind of fun to think about because now you're getting to talk about the actual issues. And I won't use the public TV ones, but the CNNs and the MSNBCs are just the opposite. That's all they are, is the opposite of the Fox News and there's a couple other ones that are out there. And the thing is they're freaking lying to us day in and day out. Just watch all the different news programs. Stack up one story next to the other story from two different, same exact story, same person, same communication you hear, but the narrative is turned in such a different way. It's just amazing. It's not amazing how this country is so divided apart. I know I got off on a side stream there, but at the end of the day, come back and listen to us at Insights and Straight Talk. Listen through the outro video because I do a little surprise thing at the end now. I found I have a couple fractions of a second. I could do some goofy thing at the end. But with that said, this is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm your host. I'm Rodd Duff. I'll be here every single day. We do shows 6 days a week. We're at, what do we got? Almost 10,000 subscribers on YouTube. And then we got another 20,000 across our other social medias. So please subscribe. Cliff, I hope you took up the request and subscribe to YouTube and subscribe to our Substack. They're free. Subscribe. Please help independent media. We talked about media being, public or private. Well, there's independent. And I think that's where most people are really trying to figure out where to get their message. This is Insights and Straight Talk. I'm Rodd Duff. I'm your host. I'll be here forever. In a second, see my the biggest person I'm a fan of in this world besides my kids, and that's Producer Barbie. And I'm out.
Before you leave, if you'd like to watch another one of the podcasts, click the first link in the description. We love having you here and we appreciate all your support.
And with that, producer Barbie and I are out. Canada is our cool little